G'day legends, it's Jono here from Thermaltake Australia, and we're back with another real-time install. These installs are where we take you from point A to point Z in real time. That way you can follow along with the install and go at your own pace, pause the video when you need to. Now, we're going to be installing one of our new ToughAir 310 CPU air coolers. That's right, it's an air cooler. So these are typically great performers. They're a little bit more quiet than all-in-ones in a very quiet scenario. So if you're up late playing games, and the performance is pretty much on par or similar anyway. So I'm going to take you through that install today. I've got a half-baked case here. Essentially, I've just put in a motherboard. For reference, the motherboard is an Asus Strix B560F. And we're using one of the new Intel 11600K CPUs. So this is a new, I guess, socket type, or not exactly brand new anyway, but that way you can follow along. And if you have an AM4 system, this is compatible with AM4, and the mounting is almost the same. There are some slight tweaks, so you probably need to check the manual. However, if you do have Intel, I'll show you just how easy it is to install on that. So we'll kick things off with putting the case on its side here. So I can sort of explain to you. Now, we do have an overhead camera, which is what you're viewing this on right now. It might show up in the other handheld camera scenes. It may or may not, probably will. Either way, what we're going to do today, I wonder if I can like hold this up. So essentially, we're going to be using these 4 holes here. If you have an AM4 motherboard, then you'd actually have to remove the 2 brackets that come installed on it and take off the included backplate with the motherboard. With Intel, you don't need to. They don't give you a backplate with, you know, those 4 motherboards anyway. So move that out of the way. Here is the 310. Now, this box has already been opened. So the contents inside are not how you would receive them. You'd receive them in a very nice, organized fashion. However, I have already unboxed this. This was a marketing sample. So we will start off by taking this out. Nice. All right, so we have our fan, which is, so this isn't a tough fan per se, but it is a design based on the tough fan. So it just doesn't have the hydraulic bearing V2 in there, but everything else is the same, including the frame and the blade material. This is a really quiet performing fan, and it looks pretty nice with its muted colors. So I'll place that down here. You can still see that, yeah, cool. In here is our other star of the show, which is our heatsink. You know what, I might leave that on the foam because you don't want to damage the fins or damage the base plate here. So that's the tower. And then inside here is going to be a legion of brackets, mounts, spacers, everything we're going to need to install. So this here is a securing brace, and this actually goes over the top here that secures this down to another bracket. I'll show you that soon, but I'll put that there. Now, like I said, you normally receive all of these screws and stuff in little baggies or in a little retainer for them, but I've already butchered that. So these here are your fan mounting brackets. So if I bring them up to the camera here, these are what enable you to mount the fan to that tower over there. So I'll chuck you over here. This is our back plate. Now it's compatible with both Intel and AMD, and you can see the sides here. So essentially, if you're using it for an Intel base platform, you'd actually have it this way, so you could see AMD. And if you want it for AMD, you'd actually have it this way to install. But I'll get more into that, and that'll make a little bit more sense in a second. Here you have, I guess, I don't know what to call this, like the brace. This is what goes on top of the motherboard, and this is what the tower sits on or sits in, and then it gets secured to via this bracket here. Put you over there. And then here are the plethora of screws and spacers. So I'm just going to separate some so we can distinguish them and make it a little bit easier for you guys to see what they are. These four here, what these are, I'm going to bring this up to the overhead camera here. So what these four are, they are going to go into your backplate, and it doesn't matter if you have an AMD or Intel system, you're going to use these. These right here are your fan screws. That's a pretty universal thing. So fan screws. These here, you can see they've got like the gold on the inside. These are going to go on top of your other spacers and your mounting screws. So these you will use on both Intel and AMD systems. And once again, so you know what ones I'm talking about, they've got the gold on the inside. This is where things get a little bit different. These both here are spacers. So we've got the handheld camera here so you can see a little bit more in detail. But they may not focus because it's too close. So I might bring it up here. So you've got two screws, or two spacers here. This one here, the longer, skinnier one with no cutout in it. So this one is for Intel, if the camera can actually like focus. The longer, skinny one are for Intel. This one here, the shorter and the one with the cutout, they're for AMD. That's the easiest way to tell them apart. Sorry. So we're Intel today. So these ones I'm going to move into the box there so we don't get confused. And now we have everything we need to install. So I'm going to start with the base plate and getting that set up. We're going to look at the base plate here. We can see that you've got Intel or you've got AMD. And like I was saying before, the side in which, or the system you are mounting it on, if it is an AMD, you would want to flip it over this way and have this go to the back of your motherboard. And if you have an Intel based system, you'd want to flip it over and then you'd have this go, or this go to the back of your motherboard. So I'll make it a little bit clearer. So this is the back of your motherboard right here. And essentially we're going to go this way. If it is an AMD system, we're going to flip it over and go this way if it's an Intel system. So with Intel, you can see you have these two kind of screw holes here. I'll bring it up to the overhead camera so it's a little bit closer. Right, so you have two spots here. With the Intel, you're going to want to put this mounting screw, this long one, you're going to fit this into this hole here. All right, and now you'll notice that because of the design of the head, it actually only fits in one way. So you have to, I'll show this here. You can't pull that all the way through. You have to twist it around and get the head to move in and fit flush. See how it doesn't stick out like that anymore? You know, you pull that in, bam, it's nice and flush. Now you're going to mount them on the most inner side, so the closest side into the center of this whole thing. So once again, I'll put that in, pull it through, you've got to twist it until it goes in flush. Once again, pull this in and pull this in. There we go. So that is how it works. They're all super flush, and they're all on the inside. They're not on the outside hole. And you'll see that AMD is the side in which the screw threads are on. It might be easier to understand it that way. The screw threads are going to be facing inwards, and the side that you are not installing it on, so we're not installing it on AMD motherboard, they're the same side. All right, so that's sort of done. That's pretty easy. There you go. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually install the fan on the bracket. This is the only part, well, not the only part, but one of the very few parts you'd need a screwdriver. Now you want a screwdriver with a little bit more of a narrower tip than this, and a little bit thicker than this. I will end up using this, but this is a little bit too thick for this application. What you want to do, and what makes it easier to decide on how to mount your fan, is if I move the case in here. All right, now this is an exhaust fan over here. What we want to do is, all of this is intake, so we want the airflow path to go intake, flow through here, flow through this cooler, and get pushed out the end there. So to mock it up, I'll just put this tower here, and then I'll figure out my fan orientation. So with the fan, the side with all the, I guess all like this writing here, this is the airflow direction side. So the air actually gets pushed out this way. So air comes in here and it gets pushed out that way. So you're going to want to basically, in this scenario, I want to set it up so this is going to push all the cool air coming in through here, through the fins here, and then exhaust out the end here. You can put it on this side too. You can totally do that, and that's totally fine. It's just going to draw out like all the air and push it out that way. But for this application, I just want to put it here. Both are going to be totally fine performance-wise, so it's not that big of a deal. The only time it makes a difference is if you were to go this way, and so you're exhausting air this way, which is kind of like mixing up between input and taking in intake air and then exhausting air and mixing it in the middle. You kind of get a little bit of a weird blowback effect. So this is the way we're going to do it. I am going to make a note that I want this cable to kind of be at the top here, so it makes it easier to move it around. So what I'm talking about is the cable's here. So I'm going to grab the fan brackets, and I'm just going to mock it up because I just want to see how it works. So I'm going to put it on the back here. Whoop. And I can see this is the way it will install. So now it kind of all makes a little bit more sense. And I'm going to keep that there. And this is the way I'm going to install the bracket now. So I'm going to grab the fan screws. I'm going to line them up over here. Just go ham. I've put all 4 screws in. Now I haven't tightened them all the way yet. I am going to grab, I think, yeah, I don't have my actual toolkit on me today, which is a bit of a shame, but oh well. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to clamp this down. Now, like I was saying, you probably want a screw tip that's a little thinner than this, so you don't damage the threads. But this is all I've got, and I really want some clamping force, so that's what I'm doing. There we go. They are on nice and secure. It's going nowhere. And that's pretty simple, straightforward. We can put that aside for now, because now it's actually kind of time to do the fun part. We've taken the CPU tower out, gently placing it there. I'm gonna grab this case and flip it. So this is a top-down view. Yeah, not gonna see too much here, so it's probably be a handheld camera sort of thing. But now you can see we're actually going to place this backplate through the motherboard now. You can see there's the four holes here, sorry. And we're just going to take the backplate and we're going to line this up. Because the screw or the mounting screws are in the right place, it just pops in pretty easy. I'm going to see if I can even... Yeah, I can. So it's such a nice snug fit that you can totally leave it in there and it won't fall out. Now it's time to grab these spacers here. These spacers don't have, a dedicated top or bottom. You can put them on either way. It doesn't really matter, as long as they're the long, skinny ones that we're using for Intel. So I'm gonna place that over the top here and drop it in. Just like that. Super simple. Bam. So all four spacers are on. This is used to space that massive silver bracket that we're going to put on, and then enables us to clamp down the tower onto the CPU. Now I'm going to grab this bracket here. Now the A and the B on here is just used to kind of help you find the orientation. There is no, oh actually that's a lie. There is a side in which you can see the little groove cut out here. See how there's a slight bit of a channel? You want the side that dips in. So if we look here as well, you want this side to be the CPU side. The side that says TT on it, you can see our logo, you can see the letter A and B. That's the side you want facing up. So, just gonna line this up now. This is where you're probably going to want to put a hand underneath from the back here and push this through. Now that went on pretty easy. Sometimes you might find that there's a little bit of resistance. Just keep pushing down, you'll be fine. And yeah, there you go. So now we're on the home stretch here, folks. So we have these little locking screws now. I'm trying to show you in the overhead camera. I might get the handheld here as well. The ones with the gold insert. We're going to put these onto the end of these threads here. Ooh. This might be a spot where you do need to hold the back plate against the motherboard just for some clamping force. But I'm going to pop these over the top. Cool, cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Here we go. So we're going to want to really tighten these. These are finger tight. You can't use a screw to tighten them. So you just want to, use the strength of the Norse gods to really clamp that down for a nice, secure, tight fit. That's pretty tight right there. That's not going anywhere. That's nice and secure. So really, at this point, all we're needing to do is apply some thermal paste, put the fan on the tower, put the tower on this bracket here, and then we're pretty much done. So I've taken out the securing bracket, the one I was talking about a little bit earlier, super chromey like. I'm gonna place him over to the side for a second, because I'm going to grab the CPU tower now. And so you can mount this in any direction. you know, if you actually wanted to like pull air in from the bottom, push it out the top, or pull air in from the top, push it out the bottom. If whatever your setup is going to be, you can do that because you do have 4 screws here to do that. If that's your style, if that's your thing. We're not going to do that today though. We're going to have it in this orientation here. We're going to grab that fan and the bracket. And the cool thing about this is it's literally like a clamp fit. You're just going to pull the fan over. It's going to clip on like that. They are on nice and secure. You can hear the clicks. So that is going nowhere. That is nice and tight, nice and secure, and it's easy as. So, all right. Just as a demo mock-up, once again, this is what it's going to look like. Pretty much there. And then the brace is going to go over here. But at this point, this is where we need to get some thermal paste. So you don't want to forget the thermal paste. Where did I put the thermal paste there? Here we go. So with each one of these coolers, actually comes with like an applicator or a spreader, the honeycomb grid pattern, and thermal paste. So this is actually a TG50 thermal compound, but it's just placed in one of these smaller little squidgy things. I don't know what to call these, but I'm actually not going to use the honeycomb pattern thing. While it's really cool, I just prefer to go the cheeky old blob in the middle. That looks like a good amount to me. Right there. Whoops. All right. Now, on the bottom of this block here, you will find a piece of tape that says warning, please peel off the label before you use it. So we're going to follow that instruction and we're going to peel it off before we mount it. Now, I'm not entirely sure what's the best way to do this so you guys can see. So I might move it off to an angle here so you still have both. So we're going to place this over the top, and yes, it's going to be a little bit squishy. At first here, there we go. We're now going to grab this brace here. I'm going to feed this through into the middle here. Okay. Just going to line it up. This part's going to be a little bit hard to do because I am trying to show you guys without kind of seeing where I'm going. Oops. So we're just looking for the thread hole for this. I've just loosely put that in now, so then I can sort of mount it. But there's the screw thread is under here. I've just screwed that in very lightly so that stays in place. Then I'm going to move this accordingly. I'm going to push down on this. And it is okay, you will need a bit of force because this is designed to kind of like seesaw. And you do just want to have some clamping force to tighten it. There we go. Got it in. This might take a little bit of effort here, so. Nice and tight on this side. Nice and tight on this side. There we go. There you go, it's all mounted. It is nice and tight and secure there. So the last thing to do is actually to plug in your fan. And you would just look for a CPU fan header. There is like all-in-one fan headers, and there's all sorts of other fan headers. But in this case, you just need a CPU one. On this case, it's actually, or on this motherboard, it's actually located here above the M.2, which is a bit of a goof for me. Sometimes motherboards have them up the top here, so that's just a thing to note for when you want to, do your wiring. You kind of want to have it so that the wiring pops out on the fan closest to the side that you're going to actually plug it in. There we go. Done. So that now is plugged in and essentially operational. However, we haven't got a power supply, so I can't really turn it on. But that there is done. So not too hard of an install. There are some small parts there. Let me move this up. We'll have this to the side here. Yeah, like I was saying, that's the end of the install. It's not too difficult to do. However, there are a little bit of small parts to kind of contend with. And if you're Intel or AMD, there's some slight changes to go about. However, that brings us to the end there. So if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. We'll definitely be doing more real-time installs. And if you have any suggestions for real-time installs, pop them in the comments down below. Like this video if you liked it. If you didn't, hit the dislike button twice. And I hope to see you guys in the near future for another video on this channel. My name's Jonathan, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.